One of my absolute favourite things in Yu-Gi-Oh is legacy support. When I say legacy support, I'm absolutely not talking about the excessive nostalgia pandering that Konami is so guilty of at this point in terms of Dark Magician support or Blue Eye support, nor am I talking about legacy support that ends up becoming splashable engines for other decks. I'm talking about stuff like Scrap Wyvern, even stuff like Halki Forax. That card never helped Chris Rons. But what I do like is when they actually release competent support for a deck and it actually helps the deck. DDD is a great example of this. I actually believe that Konami handled the DDD support in Battle of Chaos to almost perfection. But there is not much more they could have done in terms of this support wave that would have been better individual cards for this strategy. And I do really advise any like new age combo player to give this deck a look, because it is so rewarding to actually like learn and win with, just simply because of how complex and deep this deck can be. But yeah, with that being said, I'm going to show you my deck profile. I've been working on this over the past like couple of months now, and I have tried to build it to be as competitive as possible. So there are going to be a couple of hard truths in here. So yeah, I'll take you to the profile. So I'm just going to start off with the main deck, and I'm actually not going to lay this deck out as in like monster spells and traps like you would usually see like in a deck profile. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to start like with the cards that you absolutely just want to see in your opening hands, compared to cards that are like almost like secondary cards. So like these are sort of like, this is the main sort of core of the deck. This is what is going to allow you to play and allow the deck to play it to its best ability, basically. So hands that have got as many of these cards as possible, like obviously you prefer not to have multiples. Like the better the hand is generally, but like again, like with the multiple thing, again, just be aware that like sort of like any 2 level 4s is like pretty much a full combo in this deck. So like even like hands with like double Copernicus is technically full combo. Hands with double Griffin are like technically full combo as well. So yeah, these are by far like the best cards in the deck. Hands with Swirl Slime specifically, although this is sort of like a weirder starter because you do technically need like 3 pieces for it, including itself. Hands that like resolve Swirl Slime generally will be stronger than like any other hand, because you simply just get to play through like impermanence and stuff like that like way easier. And then we've got some Gilgamesh targets. Like I say these are Gilgamesh targets, like these cards aren't even like terrible to draw either. So the Orthros, like I just said, any 2 level 4s is like full combo in this deck. So Orthros plus Griffin is technically full combo. Orthros plus Copernicus is full combo, because you can actually just send green slime to summon the Orthros out your hand. I think this card is like especially important like now that we've just had skill drain to come back to 3 as well, because this is obviously going to be an out to stuff like that. This is also like the deck, one of the deck's only like outs to like there can be only one. So yeah, I think these are pretty important. I think these ratios are like absolutely perfect. So you never really need to open these cards because you are just wanting to get them off Gilgamesh. Honestly, Thomas is insane. So with Griffin, like this is like the new card, and this card like completely changes the deck. This card has 4 effects, like including its pendulum effect, and all 4 effects are relevant. Like the pendulum effect is actually like understated, to be honest, because the amount of hands where like you'll get Griffin, like off your Gilgamesh you'll get Griffin and Thomas, you'll then pendulum summon a level 4 monster, and then you'll use Griffin in your scale to pop itself, and then you'll use Thomas to add the Griffin back, and then just special summon it, and then that's obviously like full combo because you have 2 level 4s on the board. But yeah, I think these are pretty perfect. It is important to note as well that I am in the EU, if you can't tell by my horrible accent. So that would mean that the Rage King Zero, whatever his name is not legal over here. So for that reason as well, I'm not playing the Cerberus card that you play with it as well. I would absolutely love the option to be able to play those cards, but honestly, I don't feel like this deck is too disadvantaged without them. So I think like you're still fine to play this deck even in like EU sort of territories. And then we play 2 Necroslime, 1 Vice Typhon and 1 Lamia. So you can technically play one of this, but this card is actually like really strong. Like this card is like a lot of the reason why you don't lose to cards like Nibiru and whatnot. So I was quite happy to include a second copy. I think 1 Lamia is weird. I think the list that I've seen recently, they've all like played like 2 Lamia. Honestly, I'm so cold on this card. I don't think this card has aged very well at all. It's very cool that you can use it just as simply as an extender, I guess, like almost like a budget Griffin. But it's just not ideal in like almost any hand that this is in is like probably not ideal. But then like Vice Typhon is like pretty important as well, because this card is like what helps you like combo through like Nibiru and stuff, because what basically what happens when you're comboing is that you always want to have something in your grave that will summon a DDD, or you at least want to have something in your hand. So like this summons a DDD just by banishing yourself in the grave. This does it as well, and so does the Dark Contract with the Swamp King. So like these kind of cards are like particularly important, because you can't play a deck like this and not like respect Nibiru, even if it ends up like not being played in the format, it does still need to be in the back of your mind. And then for the last of like the DD related cards, I play 1 copy of Swamp King and 1 copy of the Witch. A lot of people play like the Field Spell, which I know that you can use, like it has some very like cool uses like when you are comboing, because you can send it from your deck to the grave and it'll trigger, which is very cool. But I think like the Floodgate effect on that card is not like, I think it's just kind of underwhelming. Like the fact that you already let them make like one of their extra monsters first, and then like I just think it's like strange, and especially against like the meta, like how like I would think it's going to be. Like I think that the Phantom Knight deck is going to be amazing. The Prank Kids deck is probably going to be very good. I think Eldritch is just going to be another one as well that is going to be like a really popular deck. So like I don't really want to like dedicate a slot to having a Floodgate, which doesn't really do much like in the meta that we're in. But yeah, I think these are fine. This card has like an amazing interaction where you can actually use this to negate Dark Ruler and droplets if you're like, unless your opponent sends a trap. Obviously in conjunction with Siegfried, because your opponent activates Dark Ruler, you flip this card, and then you're then allowed to Siegfried the Dark Ruler or whatever. And this card is also really nice as well, because hands that already have certain contracts, you generally won't, like sometimes you don't need to search for Swamp King, for example. Sometimes you don't need to search for Gate, but like this gives you like a third good like option that like protects your board from something that would or otherwise just clap it. And the Manhunt, I think it's Headhunt, the new trap card. I don't think that's bad either, but I think like you should like be playing one of or the other of these 2 cards. But I don't necessarily want to play both, just because like I think that these cards are like just very weak going second. And then we got the 1/1 for 1. Honestly, like I'm quite cold on this card too, just simply because it doesn't feel good to get anything out of your deck other than Kepler with this, to be honest. But like you can't really not play this because it is like full combo on its own basically. And then I've got like some draw cards. So we play triple copies of Law, and then 1 copy of Into the Void and 1 copy of Ultra Goblin. So look, the reason why I want to play draw cards in this deck is because, especially like with like a Law, is because you have very like specific things that you want in your hand on the first turn. So like these are all like your very strong like combo starters, like I said at the beginning of the video. But then you do have some just like random bizarre monsters that not Griffin's broken. You do have some like random like wacky cards that like you don't mind trading away for the attempt to like just try and find stronger cards. And these draw cards are like, they work particularly well with the going second cards that I'm playing in this deck, because I'm not playing any sort of like monster hand traps. So the thing is with like monster hand traps like Ash Blossom and stuff, if you like use draw power on like and you're going second and like you draw into Ash Blossom, obviously they do nothing because the opponent's already played and they've already made their board. But then like when you think about using like cards like Chalice, Impermanence, or like droplets and things like that, this card's actually very good because you can find them even after your opponent has built their board, and they'll have like some impact. So yeah, I think these cards are very strong in this deck. I'm playing 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent and then 1 copy of Call by the Grave. Initially it was just 3 copies of Talents, just because I got to a point where I just wasn't fearing any hand trap the opponent was playing. But like now in this format, because of the Brave engine, a lot of people have started to play Ghost Ogre, and Ghost Ogre does spook me because like Ghost Ogre on gate can be like crippling, because not only does it stop you getting your search, but it also removes the gate off the field, which means that you can't just sit behind Makina with this, because obviously Makina needs a face-up Dark Contract to be able to use his effect. Something cool about this deck as well is because it is so obscure and so weird, people generally, like, people don't always know what the right things are to hand trap. So like, you'll have like random hands where like Kepler gets ashed, and then you'll talent, you'll look at the hand, and then you'll activate gate anyway, and then that just sort of like ends the duel. And then like you've just seen, I've got like 3 Chalice and 3 Impermanences as my going second cards. I really like these cards because these cards are like good going first as well. So like in the hands as well, where you do get just like hand trapped to death, you can just like make Makina set one of these and pass, and like that isn't like enough to win the game a lot of the time. And then obviously Talents is a good going second card as well. So now I'm just going to blitz through the extra deck. I'm not going to talk too much about the extra deck because I think like this exact extra deck is almost standard at this point. A lot of the lists that I've seen have played like card for card this exact extra deck, which I could not be happier about, because I was really worried that like when I was like looking at like other profiles, people would be still focused on like the Halki Firebrax combos that attempts to make like 84 negates, but can't do a single thing through an impermanence. So yeah, I'm so happy like that we've just cut all that stuff out now and we're just playing a very basic extra deck, because it does just do the job basically, like pretty much. Gilgamesh is insane. If he resolves, like your chances of winning are just like, they just go through the roof basically. But you should be playing all of your hands to assume that this card is getting impermed, because this is like the most obvious card that your opponent knows to hand trap. But yeah, this card is like so strong, and it's because of like they have like a Link 2 monster that makes this card so good. So this is the new card from Battle of Chaos. This card is like, I cannot say enough good things about this card. So its effect, like, it's good, but I think the thing that really does make this card incredible is the summon condition. Like, can you like if you look back to like playing against like Thunder Dragons, it's not even necessarily the Thunder Dragon Colossus that you feel like as like the effect of it that you think is cheaty. It's the way that you summon it, and this is very similar, because like you can literally just slap this on top of any DDD monster, which then in turn will trigger like effects like the Gilgameshes, for instance. But yeah, it's like so strong, and because it is an XYZ monster, obviously it has like really simple access to Zeus. Like generally speaking, like if your hand is like playable, you should always be ending on Makina with like a gate basically. Whether you get like hand trapped like 4 times or 5 times, like this should always be part of your end board. And then we've got the King Caesar and the King Tell. These are also cards that have just like these cards have become insane because of like how the new like because of Griffin basically. So before Griffin, there was just not really a simple way to make a rank 4 in the TDD deck, and now that we have that, it means that you can access these 2 guys. And so like you'll make this guy, and then you'll make this, and then like when you link this away, this will mill 1, and then later on in the turn you'll revive the Caesar. And then the Caesar will then search you like another gate. So like if you're searching the Swan King, for instance, it becomes like another extender. Like these 2 are generally the reason why it's so easy to make the rank 6 guy in this deck. And the King Tell as well, this has got like a really cool interaction where if you can force your opponent to nib you too early, you can actually summon this, and then you can use this on the nib, which decreases its attack by 1,000 and inflicts 1,000 damage to your opponent. But that 1,000 attack points that it's lost is actually like wildly relevant, because it means that the nib can then not attack over anything that's on your end board, which is very cool. So these cards are very, very nice. I'm so glad that those cards have aged like really well. And then we've got this guy. This guy is insane. So like, he's not once per turn, and you detach material to like Solemn Warning, a card effect. So like, obviously this is very strong against like cards like Fusion Destiny and whatnot. Yeah, so like this is the card that you want to race to, so that you can like basically just assume that nib isn't going to happen to you. Something else as well, like speaking of Fusion Destiny, this card deals with DPE beautifully. It's amazing. And then we got 2 copies of Genghis, 2 copies of Little Genghis, 1 copy of Big Genghis, and then 1 copy of Dark. So this is like, I think this is the flex spot in the extra deck, and I think that it's not unrealistic to just play this deck without any copies of Lamia. If you're doing that, then you don't need to play this card, because you do only play this one specifically because it's level 7, and that lets you make Siegfried with itself and Lamia. But what is nice is that with having a 4th fusion monster, it potentially means that you actually get to activate all 4 of your fusion effects in the same turn. And it also means as well that, like, because in your typical combos you will always go through all 3 of these, but sometimes like you're left with like King of the Swamp King, and if you don't play a 4 fusion, the Swamp King is like, it does nothing. Like, you will just like pop it with Makina every time, because like it doesn't have an effect for the rest of the game except for it's going to burn you. What is nice is that when you play the 4th fusion monster, you don't necessarily need to do that. And then we've got the 1 DD Synchro, which is Siegfried. I really love that this card is actually just like easy to make now with Orthros, because there are so many more level 4s in the deck, like because of Griffin. This card is just like, this card as well is the reason like why you don't necessarily lose the Dark Ruler or Droplets. So like I said earlier with the Dark Contract with the Witch, if you set this, or if you set Chalice behind it, and then your opponent like activates Dark Ruler, or they activate Droplets without sending the respective spell or trap, you can actually like chain this card, for instance, to the Siegfried, and then you can chain this to the Dark Ruler, which is pretty cool. And then the last 2 cards are just 1 copy of Baron. So this card comes up in your hands with Swirl Slime, where you basically make the Baron with the Genghis, and you'll also make it with Orthros as well. And then from like when you're at that point, you will always have 2 other DD monsters on the field, because this will be your 5th summon as well. So like this card will like check like any single hand trap, which is extremely nice. And you summon this as well before you go into Gilgamesh, which means that you have the option to stop any permanents on the Gilgamesh. And then we just play the 1 copy of Zeus, obviously, because Makina is just so easy to just put on the field. But yeah, so that's like the whole extra deck. That is a very standard extra deck. But yeah, I haven't got a side deck built. I have been looking at other people's side decks though for this deck, and I do like the ideas that come from like a lot of them. So I saw a list that was playing 3 copies of Lava Golem, which is very cool, because the whole idea with that is that you will, even though you like, I saw Lava Golem, I saw Sphere Mode, and I saw Denko. These are like blowout cards, but I think it does put a lot of weight onto these cards, because these are the ones that are like basically let you play without normal summoning. But yeah, I think Token Collector in this deck is really cool, because what you can actually do with Token Collector is you can like, once you've used it on your opponent, you can actually overlay it with into the Little Caesar, wherever he is, because this guy requires specifically level 4 Fiend monsters, and Token Collector does fit the bill, and there are very few generic cards that actually let you like make this card, so it's quite cool that Token Collector is one of them. Lancia, I think, is just insane in this format. It's good against it's good against so much. I think the only thing that it's particularly bad against is like Prank Kids probably. But yeah, I think I'd definitely be playing like Twin Twisters and Cosmics in this side deck of this deck, because obviously Tikaboo sucks, Skill Drain sucks. Trap decks in general, like with the quick plays as well, I think that Prank Kids is going to be a pretty good deck, and like the quick play spells let you blow away the Pandemonium in the standby phase, and they can't chain it there. So yeah, I think that would be my idea for a going first card. If you wanted to side in the going first card, I think Anti-Spell Fragrance or maybe Solemn Judgment. Probably not Solemn Judgment, because the life point cost is pretty hefty, because like you should be passing your turn with 6,000 life, because you take 1,000 off Gilgamesh and 1,000 off Ragnarok. And then you're going to pay 3,000, and then you could potentially die to like any poke, and then along with the damage of your gates as well. So I'd probably lean towards Anti-Spell there, but there might even be a better one that's like better than those 2. But yeah, that is like my main deck, my extra deck, and like just a bit of thoughts on side deck. I do really like the Lava Golem and Sphere Mode ideas. I think they're really cool, especially in a format where every board is going to have a Griffin and a token on it at least. So then if your opponent puts up like a DP as well, that Sphere Mode is always going to be live. So yeah, thank you for watching. So that was it for my first draft of my DDD deck. I'm pretty happy with it, like as it's performing at the minute. I will hopefully like have some like games from like locals and stuff uploaded with the deck. I'm not necessarily going to bore you with like combo videos or anything, unless that's something that everyone like really wants, because there are actually like, there's probably like 50 different combos, just depending on like 2 cards and 3 card combos, especially when you mix and match like all the different variables. But there are like plenty of other resources on YouTube which will show you the basic combos, especially with a list that like mine is similar to. I do want to shout out to Yugioh, I think the channel's name is. That's a channel that I did like watch a lot of when I was learning DDDs. That guy seems like he's played this deck forever. Definitely knows what he's talking about, and yeah, so I think that's everything. Do check out our affiliate link, TCG Access. The link will be in the description. But yeah, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.